it's me, Lil. I'm here today joined by my A team, Adrian and Allison, my fellow culture vultures. Now, I learned something interesting in preparing for this discussion. I don't know if you guys knew this, but there's several different terms for what you call a group of vultures. They're called a kettle when they're in flight. They're called awake when they're feeding around a carcass. And then when they're just like perched resting, they're called a committee or vault or venue. So many names. But for the purposes of this, I'm going to call you guys my committee of culture vultures.
I'm
Well,
here
well,
for it.
thank you. Yes, thank you very much. It's interesting because you would think that the name for uh, a group of vultures would be murder, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's crows,
But
though.
those are
Mhm.
crows,
Right.
right? But I guess the vultures are the ones who clean up. Like they don't do the actual murder; they do the cleanup. They're the cleanup
True,
crew.
true. Scavengers.
Yes.
I am loving this conversation already.
See? Already educating the childrens.
Absolutely.
Well, you know what Whitney said.
Absolutely.
She believed the children were the future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. And we were children when she sang that, so I believe that we are the Whitney's children
You know what? That
of
is
the
the
future.
truth. Mhm. Mhm.
Yes, Whitney, love
Yes.
her.
R.I.P.
So
R.I.P.
today we're gonna focus on what's been happening thus far in 2025. It's been an interesting year, a lot going on politically, a lot with the world, but in terms of culture, it's been kind of here, there, everywhere, and maybe nowhere. I don't know. But we're gonna talk about what has really made us excited for the year in terms of our pop culture and cultural aspects, what were the bright spots, what enlightened, educated, entertained. And then we'll also talk a little bit about what we're looking forward to for the rest of 2025 that's upcoming as we're racing towards Q4 quickly. I
It's
can't believe
crazy.
it's August already.
I know. September
Almost
too.
September.
Almost September. Crazy.
September's next week.
Wow. Okay. Well,
Whew.
let's dive right into it then, shall we?
We shall.
I'll have Adrian kick us off and tell us about some of your favorite cultural highlights of 2025.
Of course. Before I start that, I just want to thank you, Lillian, to have me a part of your podcast episode. I have always looked to you for your cultural highlights when it comes to pop culture. As you know, through our long friendship, I am not the movie person. So I'm always lagging behind. So I was very surprised and honored that you picked me as one of the voices for this episode. So I just want to say thank you. And also very nice to meet you, Allison. I can't wait to hear both of your tapes as I'm the amateur, hence why I'm going first. So to kick it off, I had struggled with this. I think when we first had this conversation, I was the one to say, not really,
Stop.
I don't know anything that really happened in this world, but then I had to sit and think about it. And so one of my highlights, I'm going to start with television. And by television, I mean, streaming episodes. I will say it's the show Forever. It was on Netflix. I would say it came out maybe the springtime, if I'm remembering correctly, the end of the winter, beginning of spring 2025. It is an adaptation of the Judy Blume book Forever, and I'm not a Judy Blume reader, and I didn't think that I was her intended audience. However, Forever, all black cast, and I just happened to stumble across it. And I will tell you, I've watched that season twice
Wow.
already. If you're not
Yeah.
familiar with Forever, it centers around two young black teenagers, Keisha and Justin. They had known each other. They went to school together at elementary, but then I think economics from both sides. Like Justin is from a very affluent family. Keisha, not so much. And they happened to meet at a party, a New Year's Eve party, and the relationship rekindled, I would say, and it was rocky. And being an adult in my 40s watching this show, I was like, wow, all the choices they're making is annoying. I was screaming at the television like, why would you do that? Like that's so stupid. Please love yourself. Get over that trauma. But then I had to realize like they're 16. They're 15, 16 years old and I can't judge them from my 42, now 43-year-old mind. But what I really loved about the show is they did something very smart. They said it prior to the pandemic, which was a perfect choice because obviously I think a lot of producers, a lot of studios really still don't know how to deal with the quarantine and the shutdown
Mm,
in society.
mhm,
I thought that was a really good move. They also, and what was happening during the pandemic was George Floyd, Black Lives Matter, and I think had they said it in that world, it would have overshadowed the story that it was trying to tell. So I think if you're a young adult to 20s, you would really be able to connect with Keisha and Justin. But I was connecting with the parents. This was the first time that I realized that I was the age of the parents.
ain't that
Not having
something?
right, not having children, you can always pretend that we're still the young generation, but it was really Justin's parents and also Keisha's mother that I was able to really connect with, and the writing of these characters was to the point where I thought that I was at home. I thought I was listening to my cousins speaking together, and I felt like the writing was so authentically black in a way that I hadn't
Mm,
experienced before.
interesting.
And when I say authentically black, there's so many different levels and different shades of blackness, and I'm happy that it didn't go to certain stereotypes and tropes, and it showed a more middle class mentality, right? Even though Keisha wasn't middle class economically, her mother worked very hard to make sure she was in the right schools. And really, when I say middle class mentality, is that education path that a lot of us were on, especially if you go to a PWI or HBCU. That really is like that middle class mentality. It wasn't like, oh, you need to do this in order to get yourself out of the poverty. It was like this is just the best route to take in general. And so I think that the parents, especially that dynamic and how they spoke with their kids, and how even they were conflicted on how to raise their children and when to let their children make their own decisions and when not to let their children make their own decisions. I also like the fact that it did not fall or take us into the police brutality. There was a scene
Hmm.
Mhm.
where Justin was followed. There was police behind him, and as a viewer, your heart was racing because, especially as a black viewer, you're just like, "Oh, here we go! Right, we're going
Mhm.
down this path. We're going down this road." But it turned out not to be that. Like I was ready to turn off the series because I didn't want to see that again. Right? There
Right.
are certain things that I think are important, right? And I'm happy that there I'm
Out
happy
there.
that there has been shows, there has been scenes that speaks to that. I'm never a person that's like, let's sweep that under the rug, but it doesn't have to be in every story that centers around
Hmm.
blackness. So I was very happy about that.
Now, Allison, did you watch Forever too?
Oh my goodness. I've watched the series 2.5 times. I say a half
Mm,
because I started watching it again this past weekend because I just really, really appreciated it. But also during the Martha's Vineyard Film Festival, they interviewed Mara Akil, who created the reimagined version of Judy Blume's book and called it Forever. And I wanted to hear what she had to say. And I was like, oh, let me go back and watch it. Specifically, those episodes when that episode when they were on Martha's Vineyard.
that's the episode I'm talking about that made me like, these are the conversations
Yep.
that we were having.
Mhm.
What did you think about the episode? So happy you saw it, Allison, and I would love to get your take on it. One of my favorite episodes was the one where Keisha finally admitted to her mother about the
Mm.
situation.
Mhm.
And her mother, and I don't want to spoil, but Keisha went through something that was very apropos to this generation, in terms of videotaping things that should not have been videotaped.
hmm. Yep,
And
that
and
happens.
she told her mother, and I like the way because she wasn't the victim, right? And I love the twist on that story. Like she wasn't the victim that you thought she was. And her mother, the way they had their heart-to-heart conversation when her mother had admitted that she went to therapy, and Keisha made a joke, and her mother looked at her, and she said, "Girl, don't play with me." And the way she said it, I was like, "That's right." And
Mhm.
it was just that type of writing. So what did you think about the writing of her?
I appreciated so much about this show, but the writing, I felt like they depicted Black life and all that it exists, all that is encompassed in Black life among different families so well.
Mm.
Like, they captured the tone, the voice, the topics extremely well, and I think one of the things that they did well with how they positioned Keisha's character, because like you said, her mom did not come from an affluent background. She was a single mother, working multiple jobs to make sure that Keisha was able to go to a school, a private school, which introduced a new dialect that you very rarely hear about on TV. But definitely not from the woman's point of view, like stepping into a different world and trying to navigate and seeing what that feels like. And I appreciated the perspective of the kids and the parents. I think that for those that have or have not watched, they did a really great job of introducing us to their parents and letting us see a little bit about their story. And the couple that played the Justin character's parents,
Wood Harris and, Karen Pittman.
yeah,
Yeah.
that
So, yep.
couple, the dynamic between them, the overprotective mother that was worried about her son, and the father who was trying to maintain balance and keep the mom away from just creating too much angst and trouble with Justin, I thought was perfect and refreshing, right? Like the father-son relationship that was written and captured on screen was just so tender. You could see that the father loved his son, wanted to make sure that he was prepared to navigate life in a way that he would need to be prepared for, but also didn't want to shy him away from hurt and navigating hurt. He felt protective and also loving and also all the things. And like when he sat down to talk with his son at one point, Justin thought that he was gonna say, "Me and your mom are getting a divorce." He was like, "Yeah, because she's over the top." And he was like, "No, no, no. If you hear that we're getting a divorce, your mom is requesting it because I'm not leaving her." And I think that that notion of loving his wife and all parts of her was just refreshing to see versus like, "Oh, I hate this part about you. I want to get a divorce." Like the way they handled those conversations and the relationships just it was amazing,
Mm.
and I don't think I've seen it depicted that way on any other show. I had read some of Judy Blume's books when I was younger, but I
Mhm.
hadn't read that one. How I read, the one that sticks out, of course, was Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, but I
That's the
hadn't read this
best.
one. And so I just was so proud. It's a weird say to say, "I'm proud that this exists," but
Yeah.
it was just a great varied depiction
Yeah.
of Black life.
I wanna piggyback on what she just said about
Yeah.
that conversation. I think this television show, what it did really well was it protected Black women because the
Mhm.
Justin mother, that character, she was very overbearing. She was very protective, and it could have been so easy for them to lean in to this angry Black woman,
Mhm.
overbearing. She
Mhm.
rules with an iron fist. And it humanized her in a way because you could tell that she was just wanting the best for her son,
Yeah.
right? She wanted the best for her son, but she also admitted that she was in therapy. She admitted her own rough edges. And I did love that her husband, the Wood Harris character, he said, "Listen, if we got divorced, it's because your mom left me." And
Mhm.
so that protection and that cosign of all of her sides, right? Like he was still in love with her. He still craved her. He still desired her. And she was able to be that fully realized person. She was able to be a wife, she was able to be a mother, but she was also able to be herself. And I really enjoyed that. And I felt I saw that in the conversations at Martha Vineyard. And I saw them in the conversation with Keisha's mother, and
Yeah.
I'm happy also that even though Keisha's mother was a single mother, I just had this assumption, oh, she must have had her as a teenager. But no, like
Mm.
she had her like out while she was in college. Right?
Yep. Yep.
And we find that out later on when Keisha's father was there, and he wasn't some just like deadbeat. He was just trying to, live his baseball dreams. And
Yep.
and
Yep.
Keisha, even though she was in a single parent household, she was very protected by her paternal grandfather, by her cousins. And so, like I said, I'm so happy it didn't follow that those stereotypical
Mhm.
tropes that it was
Because
so easy with the characters to fall in. And also the music. The music, like I said, it happened prior to the pandemic. I think it was like 2015, 2017, maybe
Something like
2017.
that. 18
Um,
something.
and so the music was just, I think I made a playlist of
I mean, I
the
definitely
songs.
put up Shazam at least every episode to
wow.
figure out what song they were playing. I think that one of the things that they got right in telling this story was that you see the arc of many of the characters. Like you see Justin start out kind of I wasn't sure if he was on the spectrum. I feel like somebody said maybe or something.
Oh, he
He's
absolutely was. He
awkward
absolutely was.
to him stepping into himself over the course of those episodes. You see the mom's transformation. When she said she was in therapy, I was like, praise God. Because it's like I I'm not a parent, but I can only imagine the fear that a mother has while raising a black boy in a all white private school, and knowing that she's doing it on purpose because she wants him to have a certain, I guess, preparation and all of the things. But yeah, yeah, they
Huh.
did a really great job of showing the character arcs, every single main character, and it wasn't just about Justin and Keisha. It was about their parents too, and it was just so well done, just so well done.
I've been avoiding it because, in general, I do not like coming of age stories. They're always
Mm.
very awkward to me. Like, I had my own coming of age. It was not fun. I don't really want to relive it through anybody
Mhm.
else's eyes. But from what you guys have said, it seems like this show is really giving us a different depiction of Black life that's important for people to see. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna get over my fear and
Well, now
watch
you
it.
gotta check in after you see it because it is just the fact that I've seen it 2 full times and then I
Yeah.
decided to watch it again.
So that was my pick for television, and I think sort of similar. You may see a theme when it comes to movies. Is Sinners. Sinners is for me one of it's a deep sigh because it's a deep sigh of comfort, of joy, and
Mm.
no one would think this type of movie is a comforting or a joyful movie.
Right.
But I saw Sinners 3 times in theaters. I was lucky enough to see the first time I saw it with my brother, which was very emotional because the brother connection, the brother story within
Mhm,
Sinners
of
with Smoke and
course.
Stat,
Yeah.
um, and and having my brother right there, like he's my stack to he's a stack to my Smoke. I was able to see it in 70 millimeters, and the next day I saw it in IMAX 70 millimeters. And to know me is to know that I am obsessed with music. Music is my love language. Music is how I interpret the world and how the world makes sense to me. And also, I love vampires. I love a vampire story. So to have this vampire story set in 19, it was 1940s, I believe.
Yeah, 30s,
Um,
Mhm.
40s, yeah.
yeah, 30s, 40s, and so just that cultural sort of those cultural intersections. And a lot of people I know think the movie's about like, oh, white people being the devil, and I didn't see that, right? Like I think it did a wonderful job setting up that this is more about the Venn diagram of certain cultures,
Mhm.
right? The Choctaw, the griots of certain African, West African fables and cultures, as well as the Irish, and using the Venn diagram, how it's overlapped in terms of ancestors and their connections to music. And I thought it was beautifully shot. I loved played Annie.
A
She
1B?
played Yes, thank you.
What?
I find her to be one of the most beautiful women
Mm.
on the planet. And
Yes,
it's
that's
not
so.
because I'm woke. It's not because she's beautiful, because she's the antithesis of what we are forced to have as the standard of beauty. She is beautiful. I could see her walking down the street, and I would just mouth dropped open.
And that's
And
Wanmi Masaku.
Wunmi Masaku, she's a brilliant actress, and so I don't want to just like relegate her to her looks, but I love the fact of how she was shot. It was a very sweaty
Mm.
day
Mhm.
down in Mississippi, but just her being a love interest, and them allowing her to be desired again and sexually desired, because that character oftentimes we see them as the cook, which
Mhm.
they did ask her to fry fish, and she was very I never use some stale fish grease, let it be known. But she's the mammy, she's the mother, she's the comedic character, she's the Sophia's home now character. But this one, she was desired, she was the smart one, the smartest one in the room. She
Mhm.
knew what was happening, when it was happening, and why it was happening.
Mm.
So I really love that character. But truly, the thing that made Sinners the thing for me was that scene when Sammy is performing at the juke, right?
Mm.
And there's this, he's bringing in the ancestors. You see the
Yeah.
ancestors from the past, the present,
Mhm.
and in the future.
Mhm.
And I have seen, like I said, I saw the movie in theaters 3 times. I have seen the movie streaming on HBO Max no less than 4 times,
Wow.
and
Yeah.
every time that scene comes on, I cry. I find myself
Mm.
in absolute tears, and I'm not a crier, but it just opens, it does something. There is some good MSG, or some good in that. There's some good flavors and seasonings in that scene. I just find myself just in tears because it's so beautiful, and you also know, like, something's about to happen, right? And there is that in most horror films, but also in a lot of Black films. Like, there is, they take you to the peak of joy, knowing that if the bottom's about to fall out of it. I know that Sinners is on your list, Lillian, correct?
That's right. I totally agree with so much of what you just said. I was so excited for this movie even before it came out because I love a Coogler, Michael B. Jordan collaboration. I loved Creed, Creed 2, Black Panther. They're like the new Spike Denzel, De Niro,
Mhm.
Scorsese. I love when they collaborate, so I knew this was going to be good. I also am a horror fanatic, as many of you know,
Mhm.
so I was just game and ready. And it was, as you said, beautifully shot. The music was excellent. The performances were really well done. I did like it for the reason that some people did, about how it's showing how white people can sometimes literally suck the life out of people of color.
That
So
part.
I really enjoyed that metaphor. I saw it twice. I had to see it twice only because I left early before the credits the first time, and then I heard there was a post-credit scene, so then I had to go back and make sure I stayed to see all that, and it was definitely worth it. Really well done. I'm hoping come Oscar time it gets the recognition it deserves. The
Mm.
Academy, as we know, often has a problem with horror movies. They might have a problem with black people too, you know.
They might.
so,
Might? I like, that's a definite, Lillian.
so
I think you're giving way too much grace, because they play in our faces. And if Michael B. Jordan does not get an Oscar nomination, because he made me believe, because he had to play multiple characters,
yeah.
right? Like, he's playing Smoke and Stack, and he's playing Stack as a vampire, right? So he has to play three distinctive characters and make us believe these are three different people, and he did that. And I am not a fan of Michael B. Jordan. I saw him in The Wire, and that's when I got on the train and got off the train. So he made a fan out of me. Also, Delroy. I mean, if he doesn't get an Oscar nomination, then I promise you I will not be watching.
I feel like when I think about his work, particularly with Ryan Coogler, it just gives me the feels, like in the same way that Spike and Denzel working together. Mm, And what he did playing those two characters, like there were times where I forgot that it was him. Like, I really thought that they were 2 different people, and the fact that
Mm.
he pulled that off. I should also say I do not like horror movies or
Oh, yeah, I was
vampire
about to say, I
movies.
was like, "I'm surprised you even
I
went."
hate vampire movies, but I loved it, and I kept saying, "Oh my gosh, look what he's doing now. Oh my gosh, I can't believe he went there. Yes!" The whole while I was watching the film, like, while my eyes were not covered, I was totally there for all of the messages. Loved that song that, was it Sammy? Is that was
Yes, Sammy.
that song that he kept singing? I loved that. When I heard that Raphael Saadiq wrote that and produced that, I was like, "Oh, of course, of course."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there was just so much happening, man. And then to have Delroy Lindo,
Mm, mm.
man, that scene when they were in the car, I don't even know if it was Smoke or Stack, but he was in the car with Delroy Lindo's character and Delroy
Stack.
Lindo. Oh, that was Stack.
It
Okay.
was Stack and him and Delroy Lindo with Sammy when they passed the chain gang.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had a moment where I wanna say I had a tear in my eye, but that hit me in a way that I didn't expect. They just did. And, when the woman who was passing, I can't remember her I don't remember any of the names, but
Mary.
what's her name?
Mary, played by
Mary.
Haley Steinfeld.
When I realized that she was not gonna be good for all the people in the joint, and I was like, "Oh, no." But when I realized that she was gonna be the part of the downfall as far as getting other people bitten and all the things, I was like, "No! Damn!" Every time. That's kinda what I had a
Well,
moment.
I mean, I think she was the downfall because she was the one that could talk to them,
Right.
right?
Right.
And I will push back on this idea that it is about, white people messing up, right? I think what the movie did well wasn't just about white people, like a general white people, the horrors of whiteness. I think it was about the horrors of this Christianity overtaker because the end when Sammy starts reciting the Lord's Prayer, Remy started reciting it too, and he said, I was taught this from the person who took over my father's land, right?
Mm. Mhm.
And so I think it was more about the Christianity being taking over, and
Mm.
unfortunately, it is housed in whiteness. So I
Mhm.
felt it was a certain type of whiteness as opposed to a general whiteness. And I was also wondering at night you have this vampire who basically they wanted Sammy because he was a conduit to bring back their ancestors because as a vampire you live forever but you don't get to ever visit the people who died prior to you.
Mm.
And so he's the conduit because his music is bringing back those spirits, and that's why they wanted him. And then when the sun comes up, there's a different type of vampire that one has to contend with. And I'm always curious to say, like, well, what happened the next day when a lot of Black people didn't show up? And what I also found interesting that it wasn't just black white. We talked about the Choctaw, but
Mhm.
also
Yeah, we got some of the
the
Asian
Asian
American
characters,
Oh,
experts,
yeah.
yeah.
right? And how
Mhm.
they were able to exist going back and forth across the street. But it was interesting because you never saw Bo, who was the male Chinese character. You never saw him on the white side of the street. It was just Grace, the woman that was able to go from one store to the other. So it was so many layers.
I really need to see, well, I don't know if I need to see it again because I probably won't again because horror movies, but I know there was so much that went over my head or that that I probably missed that I would have caught in a couple of other viewings, but I just was like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. But I will say I have either watched and or participated in a number of conversations about this film, and I've really appreciated the level of depth of the conversation. Some people were going all the way in about the imagery and the synergy and the symbolism and some things I hadn't even caught. And I was like, yes, it was just masterful. As far as awards, for better or for worse, I don't wait for anybody to give us those sorts of acknowledgments because this movie, there were so many messages, stated and unstated. that I don't even know that the Academy would be ready
Mm.
or willing to acknowledge. And I feel like those sorts of movies are the ones that never get awarded.
So those are the 2 main, I think, cultural highlights that I had in terms of, like, film and television.
Yeah.
Beyond that, because of what's been happening in society, I've been very, like, an escapist in trying to find my joy, and so one of the joys is through tennis. I'm a huge tennis fan. It's a sport that their season is from January to, like, October or November. My brother and I went to the Australian Open earlier this year, so that was wonderful. I will be going to the US Open twice. Lillian's coming with me. So
Oh, nice.
tennis has been my thing. I've been watching tennis since I was a small child. And so I just will tell people, like, if you want something fun, something exciting, a soap opera, a lot of the storylines are amazing. You can't write them if you tried. It's great, and it goes on all year round, so you don't have to wait for the grand slams. And then I will say an honorable mention to Crunchyroll. I know that sounds racist, but that is the name of an anime streaming site. Like, we
Oh
didn't
my.
name it. I have been getting into anime, and I find the writing of a lot of different shows. And shout out to Frieren and Solo Leveling. I will put a good word in for those 2 shows. They've been my happy place, and the what they do, and how they portray some themes in different ways that we don't really see in sort of westernized animation or just television shows in general. It's very sweet, especially their slice of life genre that they have, which are just animes that don't really have like a major plot point, but it's just so comforting. It's called Slice of Life, that you end the season was like, oh, that was like a good, as we said in the 90s, like chicken soup for the soul
Mm.
type of thing. So
Mm, mhm.
those have been my jams this year.
Nice. Well, we'll try to check it out. Well, Allison, let's move on to you. What's been giving you life in 2025?
Broadway. Different productions on Broadway were giving me different types of feels, and I'm so glad for the varied feels. If you guys can't tell, I love a different emotion. A show that can take me through all of the emotions, I am all the way there for. And with Gypsy, Death Becomes Her, and Purpose, I'd have to say I experienced a roller coaster of emotions on all of them for very different reasons, which I thought was magnificent. I've always been an Audra McDonald fan. I hadn't seen her live before, so
Oh,
most of what I'd seen had been her TV work, ironically. I
mm.
knew she was a Tony Award winner, Tony Award winner, and I knew some of the shows that she had done. I think I did see Porgy and Bess. But what she did on that stage, I was like, I'm not sure how she does that 8 nights in a row. Like the level of performance came from her whole body.
Mhm.
Because of what Rose's journey was, I can only imagine the mental space it could have kept if she didn't just leave it in the theater when she went home, which, you know. So seeing that and the entire cast for a couple of reasons. One, the fact that the cast, both with its star, director, choreographer, main characters, primarily led with Black people, I was like, I was just in awe. But then when I got to see the cast come to the tiny desk at NPR, I was like, my jaw was open. I just was like, I cannot believe they're right across from me. And I am feeling everything I felt while they were on the stage in New York and they're just in regular clothes. It was I just can't even, and I just so happened to be standing behind a group of students that were enrolled in Howard University's Fine Arts Department, and they had brought them there to see this show. And I just felt like, yes, talk about seeing and being. Like this is the example of what you're able to do when you create these opportunities for people to have space and exposure. So that was Gypsy. Death Becomes Her for a whole nother reason. I loved that movie. Death Becomes Her and She Devil. in the 80s.
Classics.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
She Devil, I mean, can we please have a She Devil renaissance?
Oh my
Like,
goodness,
it's
right?
one of the best movies. Like, no one talks about it enough when they talk about Meryl Streep.
Meryl Streep, yeah. The fact that they made this into a show and the music first for me, like, I listen to that soundtrack like it's like a regular studio album, and I'm like, "Wait, that is interesting," and so when I also saw that at the Tiny Desk, I was in awe because I really loved the music, and I love Megan Hilty too, and Michelle like, I was just like, "This is incredible," and I was laughing, and then also felt like, "Oh, man, look at this. They're, like, all the way old, and they're still trying to" just the storyline and the set, all of it, just for a very different reason. Death Becomes Her sat with me still. I still listen to one of Michelle Williams' song, and for Michelle to have that part and all that comes with that performance as far as this being the first time she's come back to Broadway since the last time she was there and really wanting to do a great job, and I'm hearing her talk about, why now was different. I just was so proud that she was up there. I was like, "Yes, Michelle!" And she was working those costumes. Woo! Oh,
I
and can we talk about the costumes? Oh, that's a whole nother thing. I remember seeing both of those shows and just being proud, almost like I had just done the show. Like I was just, yes, this is great. And then Purpose, this is the only play
Mm.
that I saw, I want to say maybe this season. And I want to say I saw the original cast because I know some of the people have since transitioned out, or I know it's closed too, right? Yeah, it's
Yeah,
closed.
disclose.
That's the play that Felicia Rashad directed, correct?
Correct, about the affluent family that was hiding several secrets, and all of it comes out when they're all snowed in their house over a weekend. What's his name? Brandon
Brandon
Jacob.
Jacobs.
He
Mhm.
did that with that script. That story
Mhm.
was just
Mhm.
again, we talked earlier about Forever depicting Black life in a very specific and nuanced way. He did the same thing. Every single character in both Forever and this, I was like, "Oh, I know someone just like that," whether they were in my family or I knew them, and I just appreciated having that family on that stage for all of the glory that they gave the father character, the patriarch in the family for what he'd done and for the civil rights movement and all of the things, but also the normalcy of that family that was just having debates over, life. And it was hilarious. It was hilarious. It was sad. Again, the emotional roller coaster of it all. It just was,
Mhm.
it made the trip to New York because I do not live in New York. I go there for work often, but I was like, I have to see these. It made it well worth the trip. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna chime in and say that Purpose was also on my list of the best of the year so far. But I also did enjoy Gypsy and Death Becomes Her, as you also mentioned. Audra McDonald in Gypsy is a force, performance for a lifetime. So glad I got to see it. Death Becomes Her, I think I saw maybe around the inauguration sometime in January. So I definitely needed a laugh. And that provided so many laughs. It was such a good time. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I recommend it to everybody. But Purpose definitely stands in a class by its own.
Hmm.
And I think it's one of those plays that even like 20 years from now is going to resonate. And I feel like it'll be studied by children the way Raisin in the Sun is studied. I
Yep.
saw some overlap even between those two
Hmm.
plays. So well written, very well directed by Miss Prashad. I had some problems with the lighting, but I'm not going to go into that. But the performances were so great. Kara Young, she just shines in everything she does. So I was
Yep.
so
Yep.
happy to see her again on Broadway. I will also just say that this was great, and I think it's one of the best plays of the decade. It'll go down as that. It's not my favorite Brandon Jacob Jenkins play. My favorite
Ooh.
is An Octoroon, which I think is one of
Mm.
the best plays of like the century so far. I recommend anybody who hasn't seen it to see it. It has one of the most powerful theatrical moments that I've ever seen on stage in it. My heart kind of races even thinking about it. But if you have a chance to see a production of that, see that. Purpose, is excellent. I have a feeling that they'll also have a really good touring and regional life too.
I really hope so. Yeah, yeah. No, it was fantastic for
What else
so
was on
many
your
reasons.
list, Allison?
Michelle Buteau's Netflix comedy special. I love her. I think she is hilarious. And she did a one woman stand up special. And I've been watching her for several years now. At first, I saw her and I didn't know what her name was. But when she was in First Wives Club, that remake, I was like, oh, she's hilarious. I just think she does a great job of speaking about many things that people face in in this country, and she doesn't shy away from saying all of it. But she always has a clever way of addressing it, and so I think on that special, I was like, "Yes, go girl!" I loved it. I was just so excited to see one that it existed, and then to see that I laughed because I don't always laugh when other people are laughing. I'm usually like, "That wasn't funny," but I was laughing out loud to that and to Purpose and to Death Becomes Her for that matter.
Mhm.
So, yeah, loved it.
Excellent. All right. Well, yeah, so we had a couple of overlapping things there. I had a couple other things that really brightened my 2025. One of the concerts that I saw Cowboy Carter, of course. That was amazing.
Mm.
Love Beyonce. But I felt like I was really privileged and honored to go to the Queen's concert at Barclays Center, where I got to see Patti LaBelle,
Mm,
Stephanie Mills,
mm.
Shaka Khan, and Gladys Knight
Woo,
Yeah.
woo.
all
It was
perform on the same stage. It was just so amazing. I don't think I'll ever have this kind of opportunity again. I love a two for, but this was like a four for, and it was even more amazing that it was just these legends of music, of R&B, and let's be honest, it might be the last time I get to see them for a while. So I was really glad I took the opportunity. They're amazing. Miss Patty, she always puts on a show. She's always great to her audience members and fans. She's always dressed impeccably. She was great. I will have to give best vocals of the night to Gladys Knight.
Yeah. Mhm.
The voice is just flawless, filled with emotion, really great. Shaka and Stephanie were great as well, but that I just felt like was a once in a lifetime event, and I'm so glad I got to see it. You ever?
Gladys does not get her flowers the way everyone else during that time gets them. We always hear about
Nope.
Aretha, Patti LaBelle, even Tina Turner, Shaka Khan, but Gladys, she has that good soothing. She stays in the pocket, right? That's why her vocals can sustain the way
Yep.
they did. But yeah, she is. It's like velvet and butter when she
Mm,
So
sings.
good.
So
So good.
I'm happy you
really.
highlighted her to give her flowers.
Mm.
Then my last silly thing that really brightened me up for almost a full 72 hours was all the memes and the videos that came out of the Coldplay concert scandal with the astronomer CEO and his mistress slash
Wow.
enemy.
I can't
I
believe.
I know, I understand this was like a personal tragedy for some of those people involved, and I feel bad for the families involved. But the
Ah.
memes and the videos and the takeoffs of it were just so funny and really made me chuckle for that full weekend. It was just what I needed.
Yep.
This also proves that thing like you'll get caught somehow, right? If you it this was almost like the final destination version of like cheaters or it's like it's just like the weirdest way to get caught cheating. Yeah, it was it was at a Coldplay it was so random. It was so random.
So random.
A lot of people were like, Coldplay still touring? Well, yes, they are.
Yeah.
I think I saw some meme after this, and I don't know if it happened before the Coldplay concert or after, because on TikTok you see a lot of like Jumbotron videos, right? And this is just the viral one, but there is one where this man and woman they were on the Jumbotron, and he immediately took out the sign that says "She's my sister," right?
Right. I love that.
Like that's definitely one of those gotcha moments, jumbotrons now. So it's yeah. So thank you for bringing that.
Kids or just now at street or my good friends.
I will say the memes this year have been quite hilarious.
We all need a laugh. Now let's talk about Q4 and the rest of 2025. What are you guys looking forward to? What's on your radar? What are you gonna be first in line to see, hear, listen, do? Adrian, let me know.
I am tennis, tennis, tennis. As soon as I get back to California, my brother and I are going to Labor Cup, which is a tournament within the tennis realm. It's the men's playing, and it's Team Europe versus Team World. So that's going to be fun. I'm very excited to hear Cardi B's album that comes out in September. I like the idea of Cardi B. I like the personality of Cardi B. I am looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to see if Kendrick will have a final lap around Drake and winning the Emmy for his Super Bowl performance. I really can't tell you any movies coming out, so I guess I'm looking forward to being surprised. And I'm looking forward to Superman being on streaming because I feel like that's a movie that I'm constantly just going to turn on while I'm cleaning the house, or it's going to replace those TBS movies on Saturdays that you just throw on and just have in the background. So I'm excited for that.
Mm,
Excellent. How about you, Allison?
well, I am a major Brandy Norwood fan, and up until this day, it's crazy how much of a fan I've been over the years, having not seen her in concert. I only went to see her in Chicago, but when I heard that she was going to be on this tour with Monica, I said, "Oh, I know I am going to be there." Because every time she's come to DC, I've been out of town for work or something. It's always been something, but I was like, "Nope, I am going to be there." And I am a on that verses where it was Brandy and Monica, it was
Mhm.
no debate for me. It's always Brandy. It's always been Brandy. It's so funny. At my birthday dinner this year, this topic came up, and my sister is a Monica fan, and I'm like, "What? Like, how?" And we were she was like, "Well, they have the same sort of sales." And I'm like, "They absolutely don't." And I literally was looking up all the details that we were debating, like who's done this, who's done that. Anyway, so I'm looking forward to seeing Brandy
But what
and
was the outcome? Who was right? You or your sister?
Brandy, of course. Hello.
I too hope to go to that concert. But if there was like Team Monica or Team Brandy, I'm definitely Team
Oh
Monica.
my goodness, you and my sister would have fun talking about it because I just am not into
Well, I
it.
like to have fun talking about things with people who disagree, right?
I was like, "How?" My sister doesn't even really listen to music, so when she was, like, standing for Monica, I was like, "What? Come
She
on."
knows good vocals.
I'm not even gonna say I'm not even I will say I did have the first album.
Yeah. Allison, what are
Absolutely.
you gonna do during the Monica portion of this concert? Are you
I
gonna
might
go
actually just leave the
get some
show.
snacks?
Yeah,
Oh,
I might just go home,
wow.
like, I've been
Well,
here
it's
now.
not going to be one before
Right, I
the
was about to
other,
say, I imagine they'll be
Allison.
alternating, so maybe I'll call a friend, not sure. But
No,
I haven't really,
disrespectful.
like, her
Disrespectful.
music the first album I liked. I think it was High School, so it was just like, "Okay, fine." But after that and I love music, all kinds of music, but her
Hmm.
voice just does nothing for me. So
Okay, I hope that you stay for a few Monica songs just so you can really say that you don't like her after that, right? If you hear her live, if you hear her sing her songs live and you're still
mhm.
not a fan, then that means you tried, you did all you could do, and it's just not for you.
Well, you know what? I will give you that. If I am made to stay and listen because it's an alternating performance, I will give it a try. That is too
Please,
funny, too
please don't
funny.
hurt yourself. Made to stay. I don't. Please.
I'm also looking forward to the Maxwell concert in October. I just wanna say, 1996, senior prom, I went to a friend's house, like all of the couples that went to prom together, we went to a friend's house for breakfast the next morning. And When the Cops Come Knocking was on the TV playing, and I stopped everything that I did and was like, everything that I was doing, was like, who is that guy with the big old afro? And ever since 1996, I have loved Maxwell. And some of the footage I've been seeing from this recent tour, I'm not sure what to expect, but I also saw him at at the Tiny Desk in October. I remember I had on a T-shirt that said "Black Women Vote," and he shouted me out, and I was like, "Oh, I can die now!" Like
Oh, wow.
it's all it's all
Nice.
was worthwhile. Like no, I
Maxwell
love
noticed you.
Maxwell, so I'm looking forward to that. Yep, he is
In
amazing.
that voice, in that voice. Oh, yes,
Yes,
Jesus, call on
yes.
him.
So good.
Mm.
That's going to be an excellent show. I do have some musical artists that I'm looking forward to as well for the fall. Two of my favorite singer-songwriters have albums coming out. That's Ms. Mariah Carey and Ms. Taylor Swift. I'm highly
Mm.
anticipating the release of both their albums. I think Mariah's comes out in September, Taylor in October. I did listen to the first single. Mariah dropped a single for us, which didn't really hit me the way that her other songs always do. But I'm definitely gonna give the whole album a listen and see what she's got for us this time. It's never boring, always interesting. And for Taylor, I feel like it's gonna be a nice return to her pop sounds. I've had it with this Evermore folklore, tortured poet sound. It's a little too sleepy for me, so I'm excited to have her working with Max Martin, who's a great producer. They always have good collaborations together. So that should be awesome. I'm also excited for what I'm calling the return of the auteur with several prominent directors who have films coming out this year. We have Aronofsky, Paul Thomas Anderson, Ari Aster, and Spike Lee all have films coming out. This week, I'm going to see Caught Stealing by Darren Aronofsky and Highest Lowest by Spike Lee. And I will tell you my thoughts on those films when I see them as well. But it's going to be a full fall for movies, so I'm excited. In terms of Broadway, I'm looking forward to my homegirl, Kristen Chenoweth, starring
Mm.
in Queen of Versailles, the musical on Broadway, which is based on a documentary film. If you haven't seen it, it's a documentary called Queen of Versailles about this couple in Florida that starts building this mega mansion. Like I'm talking 90,000 square feet or something. But then the recession happens and things take a turn. It's a quite interesting documentary, really well done. So I'm very excited to see Kristen portray this kind of mm, kooky rich lady. And I'm excited to see how the music and the book is going to be. So I'll be looking forward to that as well.
Nice, nice.
Ugh. Well, this has been such a good time with you guys, my fellow culture vultures. Thanks for letting us know what's bringing you joy for 2025 and what we have to look forward to. Before we wrap up, I wanted to plug both Allison and Adrian's wonderful, amazing podcasts that they have. So
Aw.
check out Adrian's playlist of conversations and cultural catalyst with Allison McNeil, wherever you get your podcast. And come back
Mhm.
next time for more Life with Lil. Bye.
Thank
Yay!
you. Bye.
Later.